Is your website slow? Does it make you a little sad? Do you want to know how to fix it? Hey everybody, John here from incomesh.com, and in this video I want to talk all about speed. And website speed is paramount for your success online for a few reasons. The first reason is simply user experience. Nobody likes a slow website. It's 2018 going into 2019. People expect speed, and if they wait too long for anything, they're going to leave and go someplace else that's faster. The second reason is search engines don't like slow sites either. Google's entire job is to help make the world's information accessible, and if your website takes 7 seconds to load and your competitors takes 3 seconds to load, which website do you think they want to send their users? They want to make their users happy, so they're going to reward those that have good performing websites and kind of hurt those that have bad performing websites. So you want to make sure you make Google and Bing happy. And thirdly, conversion rates are better on faster websites. Think about it. If you're trying to sell somebody products on your website, sell courses, sell physical products, anything, if they're clicking around and it's slow and it's hanging and sometimes it doesn't go through, they're not going to have the trust in your website to actually fulfill and put in their credit card information into your site. Now, if you use hosted solutions for your checkout page, that's not as much of a problem there, but it's still a problem when it comes to giving your email address and anything where the trust factor needs to be there. Obviously, the faster your website, the more professional it is, so speed matters in this arena. Okay, so now when it comes around to actually how to improve your speed, there's a ton of different things you can do. You could write entire books and make entire courses about this topic. I'm going to give you 4 quick things that you should think about when it comes time to increase the speed of your website. The first thing that you need to keep in mind is which host are you using to deliver your goods. Now, your host is basically just that one little piece of computer somewhere in the internet that's serving up all of your web pages and your images and everything else. And the slower that computer is, the slower the experience is going to be for your users, right? So I love testing things, and I know that Bluehost has gotten kind of a bad rap for being a slow web host, and so I am using Bluehost currently on incomesh.com, and I'm going to show you some of my speed tests that I've done after implementing some of the speed tweaks I'll show you later on in this video, and you might be a little bit surprised. We also have websites that are running on SiteGround, and I've tested out A2 hosting, InMotion hosting, and a few other hosting platforms before deciding to go ahead and run an experiment with Bluehost. So web hosting speeds really do matter, but it's not the only thing that you can do to improve your conversion rates and your speed. Now, I'm not giving a full endorsement of Bluehost yet. So far, I haven't had a bad experience. I've gotten what I need done, and my website is running pretty quickly. If you'd like to kind of test that, go ahead and go to incomesh.com and kind of click around. I think you'll be happy with the speed results. The second thing you want to do is to optimize the images on your website. Images are, in almost any case, the largest pieces of content that need to be downloaded for your users. So if you're putting up a 5 megabyte photo that you took from your big DSLR point and click camera, it's going to take a long time to load. And one of the struggles that we personally have, here in our household, we're speed freaks, so we have really fast internet here. And sometimes we won't even realize how slow our websites will load on normal internet connections because we have that kind of snappy connection. So kind of serve the lowest common denominator of people who are going to access your website and keep your images small. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later on in the video. The third thing that you'll get kind of the biggest bang for your buck is on implementing some form of caching on your website. And now caching essentially is just kind of keeping your website in the memory. And there's several places you can do that. You can keep it in the memory of your browser, which is kind of the most common one. You can keep memory on the server side, and there's other places where you can keep memory of your website. And what that basically means is whatever was checked on your website and downloaded 5 minutes ago is probably not going to change. So your web server can kind of create this nice little packaged image of your website and send that to your users, which is a lot faster than going into your database and pulling out all the 14 different images for your homepage and all the different text modules. It's just pulling out what it knows to be the most recent version, and that saves a lot on time. The fourth thing you can do is something called a CDN, a Content Delivery Network. And this is getting a little bit more advanced, but a CDN essentially does what your web host is doing, but it does it all over the world. So if you have a rather global audience, and you can see that through Google Analytics, or even if you don't, but you just want to have some redundancy in your process, a content delivery network is a great way for you to make sure that wherever your users are, you're sending them that data to the closest server to them. So if they're in India, don't be sending them your website from Maryland, United States. Send them over maybe in Germany or someplace where it's closer to India. And Cloudflare is the service I'm currently using. It's 100% free, and I'll have something at the end of this video if you want to kind of learn how to get started with that as well. And the fifth thing, again, there's a million things you can do here, but the fifth thing to really take a look at is what website theme are you running and how many plugins do you have on your website. Now, if you have a very big, heavy, bloated theme that tries to be all things to all people, oftentimes it won't be serving anybody very well. And I won't mention any of the all-purpose themes out there, but I currently am using a Thrive theme, and it is a good theme. It's not the best theme that's out there, but it's the best for my purposes. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. And when it comes to plugins, obviously every plugin is another script that's running. Sometimes it can slow down. Sometimes they can have conflicts. Sometimes they can mess you up. If you know what you're doing and you use reputable plugins, it's not really about how many you have on your website. Just because you add 3 plugins doesn't mean your site's going to get slower each and every time. But it's just something to be aware of. I can sometimes get a little bit plugin happy, and that can make you a little bit sad when you go back and you realize you've got 75 plugins running on your website. Just make sure you use what you need and think through every plugin before you put it on. Okay, so if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, John, you're talking about things very fast and I don't really know what you're talking about, here's what I want you to do. I'm in the process of building out a full-blown course on how to optimize your website for speed, even using a cheap kind of budget host like Bluehost. And I'm putting it on Income Mesh University as soon as it's ready. So if you'd like to go ahead and get involved in that, go to incomemesh.com/university and register for a free account. And as soon as that's launched, you'll be able to get all the details about each one of these. But I'll give you a brief overview of some of them right now. So let me show you real quick. I'm going to go into my website here. And why do I use a Thrive theme on my website? They are actually in the process of building out some new themes, and it may make my website kind of obsolete, which I'm happy for. I'm always ready for the next big thing. But for now, why is this the best one today for me? If they have an entire section here for performance. This is their Thrive themes area, and they have built-in image optimization. So like I said, one of the biggest things you can do to increase the speed of your site is to optimize your images. And they have this built in where essentially every image as you upload it to your website, Thrive is going to say, okay, here's an image. It's maybe a megabyte large. Let me see what I can do. It's going to run it through some algorithms and compress it down. And maybe it goes from 1 megabyte down to half a megabyte. That's obviously going to load twice as fast. Pretty cool there. It also has some other features like the comments on your area. Some of your more viral posts might have hundreds and hundreds of comments, you'd hope. You don't want to load those initially. That can slow down the entire speed of your site. So lazy load comments makes sense. They'll only load the comments when you get down to the bottom of the post. And then on image resizing, thumbnails take up a lot of space. Thumbnails are the smaller versions of the image. So when you upload an image that you want to use for maybe the cover image of your blog post, the featured image, they might make a square version, a circular version, a rectangular version for all the different locations where they display that image on your site. So image resizing allows Thrive to say, okay, here's the image they uploaded. What size do I actually need for all these different locations? And it'll actually cut away the fat from your image to only have what you need to optimize the speed there. And as far as implementing CDNs and implementing caching plugins, that gets a little bit advanced and it's beyond the scope of this video. But again, go ahead and sign up for a free account and learn about that. But where do you go next? What are your next steps to do? I'm going to give you 2 resources that you can kind of go to right now and see where you currently stand and see what some of the opportunities are for your website right now. And the first tool is called Pingdom. It's if you go to tools.pingdom.com, you'll be able to run a website speed test. And what's great about this is it's 100% free. You can put your website in and even select which location you want to run the test from. And you just say run test. And what's going to come out is how quickly your website is loading, how large the website was that had to be loaded. So here, for example, it's going to give you a score as well. So I scored a C, which I'm not very happy about, but it's okay. It is what it is. What I really care about is the load time. And so my website, again, running on Bluehost, it loaded in half a second, 537 milliseconds, and it's under 1 megabyte in size. And it also shows the number of requests, which basically means the number of things that the server had to go and pull to display your website properly. So They say 3 seconds is where your users start to get a little antsy, and if it's beyond 3 seconds, then you're running a risk of losing that visitor. So being half a second, I'm pretty happy with that, and obviously I'll be continuing to implement other things to improve my speed, but don't worry, if you're on Bluehost, it doesn't mean you're doomed to have bad speeds forever. It just might mean you need to do some smart tweaking along the way to make up for any misgivings they might have. Personally, I have enjoyed myself with them. So then what you do next is you take a look at this information. So, okay, all well and good, but why did I get a 75 performance grade? If you scroll down, you can see they're actually going to give you suggestions right here, which is kind of funny. The first suggestion they give me is to use a content delivery network, a CDN, which I just talked about. And then you'll see if I go to GT metrics, it will realize that I'm using a content delivery metric. So these tools are guidelines. The real important thing is, how fast is your site loading? How many requests are they making? But some of the recommendations, they're doing their best, right? Like nothing's perfect. So you'll see some of the things that you can do. I'll talk about some, how to do some of these activities in my upcoming course. So be sure to check that out. But then you can just look through and see what's going on. This is another really great thing here. This is called a waterfall chart. And what this does is it takes every single request, all those 48 requests from up above, and it shows you how long each one took to actually accomplish visually. And so you can go through pages. I actually prefer GT metrics version of this, but you can see really what's taking the most time. And then if you need to chat with your support at your hosting company to have them help you implement some of these corrections, you can do that. Otherwise, you'll be able to go through and find, you're playing detective a little bit in how to improve each one of these metrics. So the first tool is tools.pingdom.com. The next one is gtmetrics.com, spelled this way, METRIX, and it's very similar, but you'll also see the difference in these. So my site loaded in half a second on Pingdom. It loaded in 2.5 seconds on GTmetrix. And if you test at different times of the day, Bluehost, I'm using shared hosting, which means that, if somebody else is having a lot of traffic, my site can slow down, all those different things. So you have a nice dashboard here to be able to monitor over time how your website performance is trending. And I have found the data, the recommendations here to be a little bit better. And maybe that's just because I get better scores. And so I like GTmetrix more. I like being in the 80s versus in the 70s. So, it is what it is. But you've got different tabs here to show what's going on with your site. Page speed and why slow are two very popular benchmarking programs that analyze how a web page is performing. And it shows you the impact of each one of these opportunities on your site. So for example, here, the biggest recommendation they have for me on the page speed score is to serve resources from a consistent URL. I honestly don't know what that means. As I click into this, it'll tell you, some of the resources have identical contents, and it'll show you that, honestly, I don't know what this means yet. This is one of those things that you're always going to be looking to figure out how to improve small things, but you also need to, we all have 24 hours in the day. So if your website is loading in 2.5 seconds or half a second, do you need to spend a couple hours to figure out that one issue? I have not decided to do that yet. But optimizing images, you can see I have a decent score in optimizing images because I'm using that optimized theme. And then why slow as well, you can see some other actions that you can take on that. They also have a great waterfall chart here, so you can pick which one you like. So now as I'm looking through this, there's one obvious guy that's sticking out as being the culprit. Let me go full screen here. So, this is all like half a second here to find my website. Then loading everything is almost instantaneously due to some of the tweaks and caching that I'm doing. But then you got this one guy where it's taking 1.5 seconds almost to do this admin Ajax. So what you can do, if you see this one guy, if you were to improve this one area in your website, you could shave off half your entire load speed. That would be one that would be worth your time to figure out. So if you click the plus button here, it'll open more details. And this one, I am sad to say, this is a Thrive product that is slowing this down. So as I look in here, I can see TVE, which is Thrive leads. And that's one of those things that you just have to weigh the pros and cons. In almost any CRM, like Drip or ConvertKit or MailerLite even, they will include snippets of code that you can put on your website, and that will basically be able to track your visitors' behavior and what pages they're going to, all this cool stuff. And having that functionality is great, but it's running external scripts, which can slow your website down. It's one of those weigh the pros and cons. I could take this away and not have opt-in forms on my website. That would make no sense, right? I love Thrive Leads. It's a very powerful platform, but it does have some overhead attached to it. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this one up. So the next steps for you, go ahead and go to tools.pingdom.com and run your website. And you can run your homepage or one of your biggest blog posts. You can kind of see the differences between it. And then go to GT Metrics and do the same thing. I'll have links to both of those websites in the description. But your most important next step, and a little selfish for me, is I'd like to hear what challenges you're having with your website speed, your website performance, because I am in the process of planning out and recording much more in-depth content than this for my upcoming course about website speed optimization, which will be available in my online course area on incomesh.com/university. So go ahead and leave a comment below if you enjoyed this and what you like and what you want to see more of, and be sure to sign up for your free account at Income Mesh University. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.